Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. I don't feel like so much that I'm wearing that Superman cape today. Oh my goodness, I was being dragged in absolutely everything. Every time I got up, oh my goodness, I felt like I needed to sit down. The intent was to get into the work today, to actually, make a little bit of movement for myself. And this is what right? This is the intent for myself every single day. I don't always hit that target, but you know what? I always appreciate the effort that I do, bring to the table in that pursuit of it. And that's the truth. Started off good, right? My sister's birthday today. She gave me a call after I sent her a message. Right? It's her birthday. I had to wish her a happy birthday, right? And she didn't answer the phone. So I just sent her a message and then she called me right back, right? To say, "Oh, you called?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I just left a birthday message." But I could tell in her voice right away that something was wrong. I wished her a happy birthday. She said she was going out for dinner today with some friends. And, you know, it's been a difficult, I'd have to say, half a dozen. As long as I've been in my mess, she has been in her own mess. The only difference is I have these ideas as to what the mess is all about. And I find ways and solutions. And this should be a little bit of a pep talk for myself, too, because it's not something I really took into consideration today. But, it's the fact that, I have solutions and I have understandings as to what's going on. I have creators out there who have those answers, and I can go to those resources and get a little bit of inspiration if nothing else, right? But she just hitting up walls right and left and getting smacked down, and also, right, when you don't have those answers, when you don't have those understandings, you can dig holes for yourself truly in your emotions, because it is in those negative emotions that we leave ourselves wide open for those sources that do appreciate those kind of emotions and love to work in those emotions, but not for the person who's in the midst of it, but for that person who's going in and to make it even worse. And sometimes that source of making it worse is our own selves. When we get into that negative mood, lots of times we can sabotage ourselves. We can be our own worst enemies. We can be our own Debbie Downers. And I'm going to have to recognize that for myself. Again, right? I have resources myself, tools along my belt. And, I gave myself those pep talks numerous times today. I picked myself up and got a little bit done without really getting anything done. You know, that idea of staying busy for the sake of staying busy. Was going to go swimming tonight, right? Didn't do that. I was going to get a few things done around the house. Some load of laundry. I got a new bathing suit I want to wear. And if I wanted to go swimming, the bathing suit had to be washed because it was thrifted. But at the same time, because I was in that mood, and it happened after I talked to my sister, and I could tell there was something going on in her voice, and I could tell the heaviness. And I says, "What's up? What's up, Tracy? I can tell something's not right." And she says, "Well, for any of you guys who've been with me for any length of time, she's going in for a quadruple heart bypass, and she's been on a serious waiting list now. Like it's very necessary. Like it's life and death at this point, right? That she has this operation, and she was all set up for actually today on her birthday. She was going in to have the operation, and she got a call a few days ago, and somebody else had to take her spot because it was a more life threatening situation. So she got bumped off her operation date. Today she got put back on that list, and she's going in this Friday coming up. She's going in, and they told her at the hospital. I says, "Oh, Tracy," I says, "right, they're not going to cancel this time." And she really wants them to cancel because she's just so terrified, and she's been in that roller coaster mode, up and down in her emotions. And I'm just like the cheerleader. I'm like, "Yay, let's get you in there. Let's get this operation done, and let's get you back on your feet better than ever." Right? And this is what I do. I do this a lot better, and I do it a lot more now, seeing that, I see the evidence in my own life. Not today, right? We'll get into that in a moment. Not today, but I see the evidence in my own life in getting this work done, how it can make things move a little bit better, make things a little bit more bearable, sometimes more enjoyable. Like, when I went out yesterday, and I was so proud of myself when I got home, and right, I walked over 9 kilometers, stayed out for the most of the day, spent some serious time with myself, and just not being in my head with myself. I was like talking to myself, right? Being that cheerleader for myself. But these are some ideas that I have, right? These are some beliefs and perspectives that I have that my sister doesn't have. And yet she's going through the exact same thing as me. Different problems, right? Different problems. But, it's still a beat up. It's still a roller coaster. It still sometimes puts us in that mode of being a Debbie Downer, right? And being kind of frustrated or depressed, or that negative, right? Right? Why things aren't going our way. I looked at this, her saying, "Yeah, right, I understand the roller coaster, right? Especially when you don't like operations, you don't like doctors, you don't like hospitals. You've been sick for so long, right? That you're ready just to throw in the towel yourself. But how do you do that when it's your life? It's your, right? It's your one shot for this existence. And yes, life is up and down and up and down. And I got a good taste of that today for myself, after my conversation with my sister, gave her pep talk, wished her a happy birthday, right? Let her know everything was going to be okay. I'm thinking, what kind of example, right, in my own life, in divvying out it's amazing advice. It's amazing inspiration for my sister, right? After our conversations, I know she felt so much better. But there I was in my own existence today, and I couldn't even get motivated. Yes, I went and walked, and I did enough walking yesterday to last the whole week. But it was the mentality, right? Now, right, hours later, I recognize that I dug that hole myself, right? I relieved a little bit of pressure in my sister's life maybe took a little bit of that onto myself, but right, it would just seem like everything was just being piled on, and I'm not going to relate it or project it on anything, right, that had to do with my sister. But it did make me reflect, like, how can I be that inspiration for somebody else when I don't see that in the moment in my own life, right? Because I let it get to me. I let something get to me. It was sudden. It put me in the mood, but when it put me in the mood, okay, we're using the tools. We're using the lessons, right? We're going to resource out some of my favorite content creators in mindset and in shadow work and in, right, some of those understandings. But I'm looking at my own life in this moment, and I see my holiday in September, right, falling out between my fingers. And I'm thinking, how can that even happen? How can I reward myself with that when everything else just seems like it's just like, and that's the truth. And I made myself my own worst enemy in that. But it didn't stop me from looking for solutions or pulling out the tools or giving myself the pep talk. It just didn't seem like anything was working for me today. And it wasn't like anything terribly wrong was going on, but it was maybe in just that resourcing and wanting to be that example to others and not feeling like I was even an example for myself today. And, you know, it doesn't happen very often. And I'm grateful that I recognize it. I'm grateful that I have the lessons and the tools and the resources and the thought leadership and the answers at my fingertips. Unlike my sister, who's just being on this roller coaster up and down, and it's causing her so much anxiety, and I can't do anything about it because other than making her feel a little better, I'm not really getting through to her because she has her own beliefs. She has her own understandings. And I'm not sure if she's praying to Jesus. I know she loves God, but at the same time I know she's got those questions in her own life. And I know too, in being in that negative, she is allowing, like I did today, the negative to come in and like a blender in the skull just go buzz and just buzz it all out and make it worse, right? And that's exactly what I did. But it was kind of interesting in that wrench being thrown into my day, right, that I was able to search out different, because that's what I did today, right? Well, if the old isn't working, right, I don't want to be hanging out with the entrepreneurs and that thought leadership today because I'm in a situation where, right, I've got bills, I got a roof over my head, right? I have a vacation that's slipping through my fingertips, right? My computer is crashing, and I should have taken care of that even before I quit my job. But it is what it is, and I have to accept the situation that I am in the moment. But what kind of example am I to anybody? Hello, Eugene. Hello, Eugene. I'm doing good tonight. Thank you for asking. But what kind of good am I to anybody if I can't be the example, right? Because that's what I want. I want to be that example of positivity and optimism and having the answers and breaking through to people who might not have ever touched on some of these ideas, right, in their entire life. And this is my own family that I'm in constant contact with, and it's like battering up against the wall. And it's not the way I work, right? I don't go in there and go, this is the way it is. That's not the way I want to do it. I want to do it in that conversation. I want to do it in those whispers and in those topics of conversations that we have, that every once in a while we just slip one in, right? But you slip it in strong. It's not like I'm just like saying something and they're going, huh? Right? Like I'm saying something and they're understanding it, but they're not understanding it. Do you get it? They're not working with it. They're not looking at it as a perspective. I don't even expect it to be a perspective. But how about if we start as a perception? Because the perception is actually the process of getting to a perspective. So that's what I did for myself today. I went back into the perceptions and I set aside all my perspectives, all my beliefs, all my truths, all my understandings, and I searched out answers from creators and thought leadership out there who I know of, right? They are entrepreneurs, they are mindset coaches, they are people who work in shadow work, but they're not my favorites. And anybody who hangs out on YouTube, you have your favorites, you have your go-tos, right? And it wasn't out of disrespect to my go-tos, right? They are my go-tos. They are my heart. They're my lessons incarnate, right? They are in my system and they're in my life, and they are part of not just my perceptions, but they are part of my perspectives. But I needed something fresh. I needed something new. But I didn't want to go outside of the fields that I normally stay in. But, right, I went in, and there are a few people that I appreciate, right? Uh, they don't specifically work with mindset, but I mean, if you work with your values, if you work in relationship to your beliefs in whether it's religion or spirituality, these you can find those common values there. And we look so similar, we sound so similar, we believe so similar, right? So, I didn't even make any notes today. Well, that's not true. I doodled. I doodled, and two notes written down: a name, Alex Harmozy, right? I know of him, and I do take in his content every once in a while, but he's a money man. Right? He's all about entrepreneurs. He's all about top 1%. He's all about, right? And that's maybe why I went into his content. No, the title got me, the thumbnail got me, right? It was kind of like, if you're feeling this way, right? If you need something, this is it, right? And I just like, okay, I need something. Let's go listen to a little bit of Alex Hormozy, right? And his lesson was bang on, 40 minutes. I stayed right to the very end. It was so awesome. And I understood it. I got it. Um, and even though it was to do with busy business and making money and stuff. But he delved into that emotional part of that, right? And pointing out the issues that stop us from achieving our goals, our dreams, our ambitions. And I so appreciate it because he made me look at things a little bit differently. Right, I came out of that and I had to actually subscribe to his channel. I wasn't even subscribed. His content comes across my path, but I wasn't even subscribed to his content, right? And so I subscribed to his channel, and then I'm still feeling that way, right? I can't even get motivated to do my laundry. I can't do my laundry. I can't go for a swim tonight. But then I got to the point where, oh my goodness, I'm on a mission. How can I get out there and shine on anybody, even myself, if I'm feeling this way? So again, I'm searching out content, and I went in, and I took in a little bit of content from other creators that are outside of the mindset and outside of the entrepreneurship, where I feel comfortable, where that feels like home for me. And it always did, right from the very beginning. And at first I thought it was just because I was so broke, I was destitute, I was low income, I needed to be saved. But if you know anything about the entrepreneurs, right? If you know anything about these stoics and these hardcore 1%, that these people there is no pity. Right? You get dragged along, or you push yourself to move forward, and it's where I get this always, right, always moving forward, never give up. And I'm so grateful for those. I'm so grateful for those lessons, because today I felt a little bit like, well, I never would, but I felt those feelings and in that negativity. Oh my goodness. But it served me because, again, some of these uh thought leaders that I do follow. I had to subscribe to another lady. She works in shadow work. And if you don't know what shadow work is, it's resolving some of those emotional issues, some of those childhood traumas that we had, maybe even in those adult traumas that we have. Lots of times it's in those dynamic relationships that we surround ourselves with. And I have those dynamic relationships in my own life, just like everybody else. But because I'm not willing to give up on them, because I'm not willing to walk away, and I have tried, right? But in those understandings, sometimes we just need space. We need to let people know we're serious. Don't cut me down. Don't try and take me out. Don't try to shut me out, right? Like, don't try and make me feel like I'm nothing, right? When in the lessons over the course of all these years, that I've come to realize that were perspectives, but they were other people's perspectives, not my perspectives, and they weren't even truths. Because lots of times, so people are so into their own problems and in their own lives, and right, and in what's going on with them in respect to what's going on with somebody else, and right, and we just all love company in our miseries, right? And right, I wasn't like that to anybody today, right? I didn't stew in it, right? But I have enough tools to know to go out and find some answers. And I did that with a few creators, and a couple of them I had to subscribe to. Their content comes across my path. I allow YouTube and Google to give me the lessons that I need in the moment. And thank goodness these content creators came across my path, because I gobbled it up, right? And the one lessons that I got were just like 20 minutes before I came live tonight, right? And It snapped me out right away. Snapped me out of it right away. We're going to try again tomorrow. Today might have been a write off, but it wasn't a write off because I picked up some lessons, I picked up some tools, and I will have two new for sure, two, maybe three people I subscribe to today. But again, like I said, their content comes across. It's not like I'm not familiar with them. This one lady, Freya from Norway. She specifically works in shadow work and she is so smart, but she's so deep. And that's what she said, that sometimes when we're doing that deep work, we kind of get pulled into it. And in the lessons, we learn to pull ourselves out. And I use the mindset tools in that. She gave me a couple of new tools tonight in 20 minutes. I watched like little short videos, 4 or 5 minutes long each. I watched 4 or 5 of them, right? Each one slowly pulled me out. And it just compounded my own perspective, right? Sorry, not perspective, perception, because it's a truth, it's a value, and it's a belief of mine that it takes all kinds to make the world. It takes all kinds to make the world. And that's how we're going to resolve so many of our issues. And yes, I delve deep. And I'm doing this for myself before I bring it to the table and I share it. I bumble along just like everybody else. But I also recognize, thank you, Freya, I also recognize that I'm in it a lot deeper than a lot of people are doing. I'm not just breaking these patterns in my own life, these patterns that, right, pretty much just took me down to ground zero and meant me to stay there, right? That I was able to pull myself emotionally out of that today because it's an untruth. It was an untruth that I was telling myself because in that negative, right, we leave ourselves open. Those sneakities, they come back in, like I said, with a blender in your skull, right? And once that happens, oh my goodness, right? And now my sister is in that situation. She's a prime example of what happens when you don't have the tools to give yourself those pep talks, right? When you don't put that action into, right, that idea I had, let's go for a swim, Cindy, right? And instead I sat in my chair and looking for solutions, and still the swimming was calling to me, and I'm looking at the clock saying, oh, we'll take the later session until, right? And really, Cindy, really? But that's going back to one of the very first lessons I got in shadow work, right? And it is an entrepreneur idea, right? Because when you are starting a business, it's always 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back, 5 steps forward, right? 4 steps back. And you think, oh my goodness, right? We got to keep one of those. We got to keep one of those. And this is what we have to remember when we put ourselves in these states, when we, right, we compulse. And also in that, I'm going to be honest in that, I'm allowed 3 starches, right? The Bisquick, the potatoes, and naan, which is East Indian flatbread, right? Today I ate all 3. This is what I do when I put myself in that negative state, right? I go right into those things that are not good for me, that are not even going to serve me. And not only that, in that self sabotage, right? I should have been proud of myself because that 9 kilometer walk yesterday got me down another pound, right? Into a number that I was super excited to see. Now, with those carbs today, who's to say what that scale is going to look like tomorrow? I didn't even go for a walk. Let me have a sip of my coffee. I've got some heartburn now. Banana peppers on the man, right? Feta cheese and green onions and white onions and tomatoes. And, oh, yummy. Healthy, healthy, but it's still a carb and more calories than I should have taken in, especially when I'd taken in the potatoes and I had taken in the naan too today. So it is what it is, right? We start again tomorrow. We do it again tomorrow, right? We do it right. And I'm so grateful again for those lessons that come across my path, those lessons that aren't even making an impact in some people, that they're not even trying. Getting back to what Freya said, it's sometimes we go so deep. Some of us go so deep into those lessons, right? Where others, it's not even a thought, right? Right? Very few people are doing the shadow work, right? Resolving those issues that trigger us and trip us up, make us give up. I never give up, no matter what. Even today, in that state, I was doing everything I possibly could to pull myself out. And even if it only happened like 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, what I picked up along the way is going to serve me, right? And it did serve me. And it's true. It takes all kinds to make the world, right? No matter what your political ideas, your spiritual ideas, your religious ideas, your cultural ideas, your family traditional ideas, right? That we are meant to coexist. We are meant to interact with each other, to marry each other, to have babies with each other, to amalgamate and assimilate, right? We got a long ways to go. We got a long ways to go, but we are doing so much better, you guys. We are. I know sometimes it doesn't look like it, but we are doing so much better. Cindy's doing so much better. And this is something that I should have, right? Instead of doing the doodles. And another one here, threads in the wind. You know, I reference it a little bit differently, but it's the same idea. It's those lifelines, right? But sometimes, you know, those lifelines are just blowing along all in front of us like a clothesline, and they're just waving there for you to pick one or a few or grab them all and hold for dear life. But right in front of our faces, and we don't even make a grab for them. And shame on me if I did that today, right? I don't think I did because I was looking for solutions. I put that action, excuse me, I put that action into the thought of I need those lessons. I need to search out answers. I need to relieve the way I'm feeling. I need to understand the way I'm feeling without even thinking, oh my goodness, right? That swim today would have served you so well because I know I would have walked home and that would have been another 6 kilometers, 4 kilometers, because I checked on Google how many kilometers it was. Um, but I would have felt good about that. I might have even lost another pound. And I'm not losing weight for the sake of losing weight. I'm just doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it. It just seemed to happen. And so I decided maybe it was to be the example. And that's what it is. Definitely, that's what it is, to be an example for my sisters, because they all struggle with their weight up and down like those roller coasters. Me and my three other sisters, we all have those little coaster lives. Well, three of us out of the four, right? But my youngest sister is just like a little yogi, right? Nothing bothers that woman at all. She's just the most easygoing, whatever happens, happens kind of girl. And she doesn't have any expectations in her life except to take care of her child and her husband. And that's the truth. She barely takes care of herself because all her resources go to her child and her husband. But yeah, all my sisters are amazing that way. I just wish, oh, excuse me, that I could be a better example to them, that they could say, oh my goodness, Cindy did it, so can I. And that's where I was at. I didn't feel like I was a good example. I didn't see the movement for myself in entrepreneurship. Right? I want to help the entrepreneurs because, for the most part, the entrepreneurs are the plow through guys. Get it done. Don't care what other people say. But believe me, there's just as many narcissists, empaths, borderlines in the entrepreneur and mindset category as in any other category, right? But they plow through, right? They just keep moving, those guys. And so I don't necessarily want to be the entrepreneur myself. I would be content to work for others, right? I would. But it's because I want to help them in that, because they're not doing the work, right? They're not resolving their issues. And yes, they might be top with 1%. Yes, they got lots of moolah, but they got lots of stress. They got lots of unresolved issues. They got lots of narcissistic and borderline partners going on, and they don't even recognize it. So they're like in that negative state, like I was in today. They're in that all the time. And yet they're still making it happen. Can you imagine how much work that takes? My life is so much better than it was. Today was an exception. I have not had a Woisy me kind of day, because that's what it was, a Woisy me kind of day. I haven't had one of those in just ages. Because, like I said, I have those tools and I pull them out and I'm out of it right away. And not out of it just by plastering a smile on my face and nobody could see I'm miserable, right? Because if I'm miserable, you know it, right? It's why I don't lie, is because, right? I can't get away with it because I'm just like the most terrible liar ever. But not only that, I don't lie because, right, I don't want to spend that much time, that much work covering my bases, double checking what I'm saying, right? Putting in myself in a situation where I'm going to get called on something that I said or did, which was an untruth, right? And then have to rectify that if I can, right? And if I can't, then, oh my goodness, everybody out there knows that I'm a liar, right? So it's important for me to be genuine and to be as truthful as I can, right? Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to yawn like that. It's not like I burnt any calories today that I should be exhausted, but that's what the negativity will do to you. And I can almost guarantee you I am not going to have those perfect sleeps like I usually do, because that's what negative does to you too, right? That agitation, that frustration, that worry, that stress, right? That noisy me. You left yourself wide open, right? And what comes by you? Ooh, yummy and in there. It was a good analogy, the blender inside the skull, because that's what it does. And that blender in there will do a job on you. But to each one of us, sometimes we get the message, sometimes we don't get the message. Sometimes we'll never get the message. And that's probably what bummed me out, because I want to be the example that it can be done, right? I want my sisters to be in the mindset to be living their best lives, emotionally, physically, and mentally happy, right? Even keeled. And, even if they don't see the evidence, even if nobody else out there sees the evidence, I see the evidence. I see that evidence in my life. I still wouldn't be here. I still wouldn't be at it. I still wouldn't be trying to look for solutions, right? All it was one of those, right? 2 step forwards, 3 steps back, right? 1 pound lost, 1 pound gained. But maybe in rectifying myself, right, that I could be the evidence for somebody else. And in that reward, I'll get up tomorrow morning and I didn't gain any weight. That would make me happy. I don't expect to lose any weight, but if I cannot gain any weight tomorrow, excuse me, you guys, I would be super happy with that. I really would. But it was a good lesson for me today, right? And if I'm gonna be planted in a chair and be unmotivated and a little bit, right? I'm gonna take my lessons. I'm right. I'm gonna sit here, and I don't just do this for myself. I do this for you guys, not so that you don't have to do the work, because I can't do that work for you. But I can show you how easy it is, right? I can explain the two steps forward, the 3 steps back, so that you don't beat yourself up when it happens, because we should be expecting that. I just took myself by surprise because it's been so long. You got, like, I can't even remember how long that has been since I've been in one of those states, right? It's been a very, very long time, maybe over a year. And that's progress, right? That's progress. And in that progress, right, makes me want to just go a little bit deeper, right? A little bit harder. Maybe that's why, right? Alex Hormozy, because this guy moves. This guy's like Thor's hammer for sure. Physically, emotionally, mentally, I don't know. I really like his mental state. Emotional state, I like his mental state, because the mental state is where the even though it works in emotions, it's where the empathy lies. That you can look at a character and see how messed up they are, but still have that compassion to look at it in somebody else's perspective, right? Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I really appreciate it. It's a treat that I think I have, right? But it's a trait that I look for in my thought leadership. It's right. If I'm going to take lessons from you, right, you better be kind, right? You don't necessarily have to have all the lessons because you give me a tidbit, I'll run with that like a football player. But you know, you do have to be genuine in what you're doing, right? And I can feel that out. It's why I love my content creators, why I love my entrepreneurs, right? Because it is in the never giving up, right? And it's also in that idea that you know what, these things happen, right? Pick yourself up, brush your legs off, and try again. Never give up, you guys. Never give up. I feel so much better now. I'm going for my swim tomorrow. I'll be up early in the morning. I'll do my laundry, load of laundry. I will whistle while I work. I will not take in that heavy content, right? Right. I love heavy ideas. I don't, but the heavy content meaning the grumbling and the complaining and the woisy knees and right the stuff that just even in some of the categories that I run in, lots of times I don't come out of that content feeling good. I don't come out of it feeling optimistic. You know, sometimes it's the keywords that are consistently used. You will never make it, or you don't work hard enough. You're not fast enough. Right? You just need more lessons. You just need to put in more hours. You just need to put in more action. And when you see sometimes that, right, in the moment that doesn't actually work, because sometimes you do have to put that work in it. You don't see the result. And if you know Alex Hormozy, he's a big hulking guy. But right, again, you gotta put that work into it, right? And things just don't manifest on themselves that way. You have to, right? You have to put that action into it. Yes, something will come in and sweep you up and take your way and make it a little bit easier. But if you're just sitting in your office chair going, woisy me, right? Nothing's going to come to save you, right? Nothing's ever coming to save you. And if you leave yourself all wide open to that misery, you can expect you're going to get some company. And that's the truth. I am grateful that I take my lessons in. I'm grateful that I work with those tools and that I remember the lessons. I don't always remember the creator or the thought leader that it actually comes from, but I do appreciate the lessons. You guys, that's my last yawn. Why? I'm going to bed. I'm not even. Oh, let's pull a card. Let's just see if it's in reference to what I was into today. And we're going to pull this card and the word we have tonight. Just a couple of minutes. We got happiness, you guys. Happiness happens when you love what you're doing, right? I love what I'm doing. I wouldn't I don't think I could if I wanted to stop what I'm doing. At some point maybe I'll take a break. Maybe if that hairy scary rolls into my life and it puts me on a roller coaster where not even a tool on my tool belt will help to resolve the issue, right? Maybe it would call for just a break. But then again, in my own mindset, right? You don't give yourself that out. You give yourself that out. It's just not a minute that you're taking. It could be a lifetime. And for me, that's super scary. That just that just can't happen. So we're in it. We're in it for the long haul. Maybe not the fast, right? Like maybe I don't have to go at that speed that I've been going at, but at the very least, just to keep that movement going on. What did I write here? Happiness happens when you love what you're doing. And that's a 100% truth, right? I'm still here. Why? Because I love what I'm doing. I do. I love what I'm doing. I have no idea why I allowed myself to get into that state today. I think I was a little bit fortune telling. I was a little bit looking into the future and worry. Oh, just like and that was something that Hormozy was saying, right? That when you look at the problems in the future, right? Sometimes you get to realize that they weren't even part of the past. They weren't even going to manifest, right? But because we're so looking for solutions or something to blame or possibilities in goals and something to move towards, that right? We become our own worst enemies in that for sure. Okay, you guys, that's it for me tonight. I am calling it a night. I will be back on Mondays, Saturdays. I always take off social media. I'm not online very much. There's a program out of a university in British Columbia. It's not UBC, it's another university. But I'm going to get an accredited course in addictions, and it's accredited, and I'm not even an addictions worker, but I can count it up as experience. It'll look good on my resume, won't it? And it will serve in what it has to offer. I looked at the different um, categories that we'll be working in, and yeah, it's pretty neat. It's just not open to physicians, but it's open to the public if you wanted to take the course. It's out of University Simon Fraser University. So if you want to go and take a look at their courses, it's a free one. It's a free course. You actually get credited for it, and yeah, you could be absolutely no one. And if you don't serve it out to your friends and family, maybe you'll get use out of it. Because if you're hanging out with me, you like something more than just the pink ice donuts with the sprinkles. Okay, seriously, I'm out of here. Eugene, thank you so much for popping into my live tonight. I so appreciate it. Have a great night.